Hey, everybody out there. It's a brand new year and...
You know what that means.
Right. I bet a ton of you are trying to keep up with those resolutions.
Yeah, those New Year's resolutions.
Exactly. And, well, let's face it, it can be tough.
It really can.
Especially if you're only relying on willpower.
Oh, for sure.
You know, we did a whole deep dive on SMART goals a while back.
That's right.
And that's a great starting point.
Yeah, definitely.
Today we're going deeper.
Yeah. We're going to figure out how to turn those goals into actual habits.
Habits?
You know, those automatic behaviors?
Yeah.
You just do them without even thinking about it.
It's like they're on autopilot.
And
that's the key, right?
Yeah.
Willpower. You know, it's like...
Like a muscle.
Yeah, like a muscle, and it can get tired.
Totally.
But habits, those tap into a different part of your brain.
It's true.
And it makes things so much easier in the long run.
Okay, so let's break this whole habit thing down.
Okay.
Our sources for this deep dive really get into the nitty-gritty.
The science behind it. Yeah. And it's honestly fascinating stuff.
It really is.
Like, for example, did you know there's this part of your brain called the striatum?
The striatum.
And it's basically habit central.
That's where the magic happens.
It's amazing.
It is every time you repeat an action, those connections in your striatum, they get stronger and stronger. It's like, what is it, like carving a path through a jungle or something?
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, the more you walk that path, the easier it gets.
Makes sense.
Right.
So is that why we always hear about that? Like
the 21 days to form a habit thing?
Yeah, yeah. But wait a minute. Our sources are saying that that's actually a myth.
Well, it's not entirely accurate, let's say.
Okay, so what's the real story then?
Well, research shows that on average it takes about 66 days.
66 days.
Yeah, for a new behavior to really become automatic.
Okay.
But here's the thing.
What's that?
It can actually take anywhere from 18 days.
Wow.
All the way up to 254 days.
Seriously. 254 days.
It's a big range, Rain.
That's almost a whole year.
It depends on the habit, you know?
I guess that explains why I haven't quite mastered that whole becoming a morning person thing yet.
Right. Well, quitting smoking, for example, that's going to take a lot longer than, say, remembering to take your vitamins every day.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's all about the complexity of the habit.
So knowing this, though, I feel like it kind of takes the pressure off a little bit.
I think so, too.
It's not about, like, a quick fix.
No, not at all.
It's about, you know, playing the long game.
Exactly. And I think understanding the science behind it, it helps us set realistic expectations.
Totally.
You're not a failure if you don't nail a new habit in just a few weeks, you know?
Right.
It's a process. It takes time.
All right. So how do we actually make this habit magic happen?
Right. How do we actually do it?
Yeah. What were some of the big strategies that stood out to you from all this research?
You know, one thing that really resonated with me was the idea of starting small.
Starting small.
We're talking micro habits here.
Okay.
Like tiny, tiny changes.
So tiny.
You barely notice them at first.
Okay, I get that.
But does that feel a little too easy?
I was going to say, isn't that kind of too easy? Where's the challenge in that?
Well, that's exactly the point.
Oh.
The goal is to make it so ridiculously simple that you can't not do it.
So, like, instead of trying to read a whole book every week,
right,
I could just commit to reading 1 page a day.
Exactly. It's about tricking your brain into consistency.
No, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so tiny changes. Got it.
What else? What else? What other strategies did you find?
Another really powerful strategy is what they call anchoring.
Anchoring?
Yeah, you basically piggyback your new habit onto an existing routine.
Okay.
So let's say you want to start meditating.
Okay.
You could try doing it right after you brush your teeth every morning.
Oh, I see.
You're already doing that automatically, right?
Yeah.
So you're just adding a little something extra to it.
So it's like adding another link in the chain, right? It becomes part of the flow.
You know, I actually tried that with flossing.
Oh, really?
I put my floss right next to my toothbrush.
Smart.
Thinking I'd automatically just grab it.
Yeah.
You know what happened? I totally ignored it for like a whole week. My brain just wasn't making the connection.
Sometimes that happens.
So what do you do then when anchoring doesn't seem to work?
Well, sometimes you need a more obvious cue.
Okay.
You know, try leaving yourself a note or setting a reminder on your phone.
Oh, that makes sense.
You got to experiment and find what works for you.
All right, good to know. So we've got starting small, anchoring to those existing routines.
Yep.
What else can we do to set ourselves up for success?
Well, environment plays a huge role.
Environment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know how you're way more likely to snack on chips?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
If they're sitting right there on the counter?
Out in the open, yep.
Well, the same principle applies to good habits, too.
Oh, I see.
Want to eat more fruit? Put a big bowl of apples and oranges right where you can't miss them.
Make it easy.
Right. Make those healthy choices the easy choice.
That's so true. I am totally guilty of hiding the healthy stuff in the back of the fridge.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly.
It's all about setting yourself up for success.
Right.
And speaking of success, remember we talked about the striatum earlier?
Those neural pathways?
Right. Well, guess what happens every time you successfully complete your new habit?
What's up?
Your brain releases a little burst of dopamine.
Dopamine, that's like the feel-good chemical, right?
Exactly. So basically...
For wiring your brain to crave that habit.
Yeah, you're creating a positive feedback loop.
Oh, that's so cool.
It is. And that's why celebrating those small wins is so important.
I like where this is going.
Right. You're reinforcing that good feeling.
It's like giving yourself a little reward.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're starting small. We're anchoring to existing routines.
Yeah.
We're setting up our environment to support us. But how do we actually know if we're making progress?
That's where tracking comes in.
Tracking.
Yeah, whether it's a journal, an app, or even just a simple checklist.
Okay.
Find a way to visually see your consistency.
Oh, I see.
Because those little wins, they add up over time. And seeing that progress, it can be incredibly motivating.
It's like a visual reminder that you're actually doing the thing.
Exactly.
Okay, so I think we've got a pretty solid foundation here.
I think so too.
Let's put it all together with a real example.
Okay, sounds good.
Our sources used the classic resolution of drinking more water.
Ah, yes, the age-old struggle.
Right. We all know we should be drinking more water.
And remember how we talked about SMART goals in that other deep dive?
That's the one about goal setting.
Right. So if your resolution is to drink more water, a SMART goal might be to drink, let's say, 2 liters of water per day consistently within 2 months.
So it's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Exactly. Now let's see how we can turn that goal into a habit.
I'm with you. So using these strategies, we'd start by...
What would be the first step?
What would be the first step?
Well, you'd make sure you have a full water bottle right there on your nightstand.
Okay.
That way it's the first thing you see when you wake up.
That's easy enough. I can do that.
Right. And
then I just guzzle it down first thing.
Exactly. Drink a big glass right after waking up.
Okay.
You're anchoring that new habit to an existing routine waking up.
Makes sense. And then throughout the day, I just consciously make an effort to keep sipping water.
Right. And you could maybe link it to meal times and breaks.
Oh, yeah. Good idea.
Just to make it more consistent.
And then to make sure I'm staying on track, I could use a tracking app.
Yeah. A tracking app is a great idea.
And then I can celebrate when I hit those daily targets.
Exactly. You're celebrating those little wins.
So basically, we're turning drinking water into something that happens almost automatically.
That's the goal.
Like without even thinking about it.
Precisely. It becomes woven into the fabric of your day.
That's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool how it works.
So it's like we're hacking our brains.
New way, yes.
To make those healthy choices the easy choices.
Exactly.
I love it. All right, so we've laid out the foundation for building lasting habits.
We have.
But the real work begins when we put it all into practice.
Absolutely. So get out there, start small, stay consistent, and don't be afraid to experiment.
And most importantly, celebrate those wins along the way.
Yes. Every little victory counts.
We'll be back soon to dive even deeper into this fascinating world of habits.
Until then, keep those resolutions going. And remember, every small step you take is moving you closer to your goals.
That's right. We'll see you on the next deep dive.
Bye for now.
That's pretty amazing when you think about it.
Right. All those things we do without even thinking about them.
It's like freeing up all this mental energy to focus on other things.
It's like our brains are working more efficiently.
Like we upgraded our operating system or something. I like that analogy. But you know, it's important to remember, building new habits, it's not always easy.
Yeah, it's definitely not a walk in the park.
There are going to be days when we mess up.
Oh, absolutely.
When we just don't stick to our plan.
It happens to everyone.
So what do we do then?
Right when we hit those bumps in the road.
Exactly. Any advice from our sources on how to deal with those setbacks?
One of the most helpful things is to try and identify your triggers.
My triggers.
Yeah, what are the things that tend to derail your progress?
Okay.
Is it certain situations, certain emotions?
I see.
Once you figure out what your weak spots are, then you can start to come up with strategies to deal with them.
So, like, if I know that I always crave sugary snacks when I'm stressed,
right,
I could make a list of healthier ways to cope with stress.
Exactly. Like going for a walk or calling a friend.
So it's about being prepared.
Exactly.
Wow.
Having a plan in place for those moments when your willpower is low.
That makes sense. Our sources also talked about focusing on just one habit at a time.
Yes. Don't try to do too much at once.
Right. It's about setting realistic goals.
And celebrating those small wins along the way.
Exactly.
Consistency is key.
It's better to make a little progress each day.
than to burn yourself out trying to change everything overnight.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Speaking of burnout,
Yeah.
our sources also talked about the importance of rest and recovery.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not all about pushing ourselves to the limit all the time, right?
Think of it like training for a marathon.
Okay.
You wouldn't run at full speed every single day.
Right.
You need those rest days to let your body recover.
So building habits, it's kind of like a marathon too.
In a way, yes.
We need to pace ourselves.
And give ourselves permission to take breaks.
I like that.
It's all about balance.
Finding that sweet spot.
Between pushing yourself and being kind to yourself.
And remembering that those setbacks,
Yeah.
they're not failures.
Right. They're just part of the process.
I love that. It takes the pressure off.
It does.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about the science behind habits, the importance of starting small,
Yep.
anchoring to existing routines,
Right.
setting up the right environment, tracking our progress, celebrating those wins,
Yes.
and even navigating those setbacks that are going to come up along the way.
They're inevitable.
So what stands out to you as the biggest takeaway for our listeners?
I think the most important thing to remember is that building lasting change, it's a journey.
It's not a destination.
Exactly. It's about those small, consistent choices we make every single day
It's about the little things.
that ultimately lead to a healthier, happier, more fulfilling life.
It's a reminder that we're all works in progress.
We are.
And that's okay.
It's about progress, not perfection.
What matters is that we keep taking those small steps forward day after day.
Keep moving in the right direction.
And knowing that each choice we make, it's shaping the person we're becoming.
So true.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of habits, I want to leave our listeners with a thought-provoking question.
All right, I like it.
If you could choose just one small habit to start today,
Just one.
what would it be?
What one action could you commit to doing consistently?
That would have the biggest impact on your life.
What one habit could set you on the path to achieving your goals?
And living your best life.
That's a powerful question.
It really is. It gets to the heart of what we've been talking about.
Right. It's not about overwhelming yourself with a million changes.
It's about finding that one key habit.
That one thing that can make a real difference.
That linchpin that can set everything else in motion.
And it might be different for everyone.
Of course.
For some, it might be waking up a little earlier each day.
To have some quiet time before the day starts.
Exactly. For others, it might be making sure they get outside for a walk.
Even if it's just for a few minutes.
Right. The key is to find that one habit that resonates with you.
That feels both achievable and impactful.
And then commit to showing up consistently.
Day after day, even when it's hard.
Because that's how real change happens.
It's not about those grand gestures.
Or overnight transformations.
It's about those slow, steady steps.
The accumulation of those small, seemingly insignificant actions.
And as we've learned from diving deep into this research, those small actions repeated consistently.
They have the power to reshape our brains, our behaviors.
And ultimately, our lives.
So as you go about your day today, keep that question in mind.
What one small habit can you start today?
That will make the biggest difference in your life.
And remember, you don't have to do this alone.
Right.
Share your thoughts, your struggles, your triumphs.
Let's create a community of habit hackers.
Supporting each other every step of the way.
Because you're not alone on this journey.
We're all in this together.
So until next time,
keep diving deep. Keep experimenting.
And keep believing in your incredible power to create lasting change.
Yeah, it really makes you stop and think.
Doesn't it? It's so easy to get caught up in thinking big.
Right, wanting those big changes.
But we forget about all those little steps.
The ones that actually get us there.
It's like we're trying to climb a mountain in one giant leap.
Instead of just taking it one step at a time.
Exactly. And that's where those micro habits come in.
I see what you mean.
They're like those little base camps, along the way.
I love that analogy.
Each one gets you a little bit closer to the top.
Okay, so we've explored the science.
Strategies.
And even how to deal with those setbacks that are going to happen.
Because, let's face it, they happen to all of us.
So I think it's time to really put all this into practice.
Absolutely. It's not enough to just understand it,
Right. We got to actually do it.
Experiment, see what works for you.
And that's where you, our amazing listeners, come in.
We want to hear from you.
What's your one small habit?
What are you going to commit to today?
That will make a real difference in your life.
Share your stories, your challenges, your successes.
Let's create a whole community of habit hackers.
We can support each other on this journey.
Because remember, you're not alone in this.
We're all in this together, figuring it out as we go.
So, until next time.
Keep diving deep. Keep experimenting.
And keep believing in yourself and your power to make real lasting change.
We'll see you on the next deep dive.
Bye, everybody.